Joe Biden's back. But I'll tell you what, we'll get to that in a second. You ever look at an aging rock star or actor, actress, and they haven't aged well, if you will? You could just tell life's been hard. That's been some hard living. They're 55, going on 85, and you say to yourself, man, their body has had some abuse to it. You ever say, Mickey Rourke's actually a good example. Sorry, not to pick on Mickey Rourke, who I actually like him as an actor, but you ever seen Mickey Rourke now? You look and you think, man, his body's been through some things. And you ever wonder, what? What was it? What are the things it's been through? Well, it's helpful to figure out what that is, you see, when you're talking about yourself, when you're talking about a country. How did we get here as a country? How did we get to this state of decay? How did we get to a place where half the country hates it, the rest of us are trying to save it? Well, look, we can't discount the role Joe Biden's 4 years in office played. Because during Joe Biden's 4 years, things accelerated to a level that shocked everybody, including me. And you know how evil I talk about these communists being. You and I talk about this all the time. And of course, they are evil. They're evil, they're sick, they're depraved, they're destructive. But even I would wake up on days when Joe Biden was president and I was just flabbergasted by the naked power, the evil of the entire thing. And of course, Joe Biden's back now. Now, why is Joe Biden back? Did Joe Biden wake up one day on the beach in Delaware, wipe the drool off his face and say, hey, Jill, you know what? I want to get back in the game. No, of course not. We all know what Joe Biden's mental state is. It's a disaster. Joe Biden is, and not celebrating this at all, but Joe Biden is in the final years of his life. That's how it goes. When you get that age and your mind starts to go that way, we're all going to die one day, and maybe we'll all die in that way. But Joe Biden does not have a lot of time left on this planet. He simply does not. And I'm sure he, like most people, would like to spend his final days resting on the beach. I don't know. But we all know Jill pushed him back in. Jill Biden loved the White House. Loved being first lady, loved the power, loved the recognition. Remember, she used to host cabinet meetings, give speeches all the time. Her husband humiliated himself on the national stage in front of the entire planet on a debate, during a debate with Donald Trump, and Joe Biden still wanted him to run again. I mean, it's just a soulless monster, just a fame-hungry monster, right? So I'm sure this was all Jill's doing. It's just my guess, but I would guess this is all Jill's doing. Hey, Joe, go give a speech. And, well, let's remember this guy was president for 4 years.
Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of their economic situation, regardless of who they are. People can't sign on to their accounts. What do you think it does to that woman's living alone at 74 years checking, just not able to even find out whether she can't even find out what that disability claim is she has? Think of what the psychic calm gives so many people who just don't know where to go, don't know how to traverse what needs to be done, or alone.
What? Don't ask me what he said. I don't know. I listened to that 4 times. Producer Matt cut that up and sent it over. I listened 4 times. I still don't know what he said. I don't know. You don't know. But of course, he was the commander-in-chief for 4 years. 4 years. And this is why things accelerated to a level that shocked you, that shocked me for that 4 years. Because he was never president of the United States of America. You know that. It's not just towards the end. He was never president. He was never strong enough to control the savages in the Democrat Party. He was a placeholder, and he essentially sat there drooling on himself while the most evil Maoists in the United States of America did, everything they could with no breaks. Joe Biden's presidency was the no breaks on communism presidency. It was a lovely little window into what that looks like. You want the Justice Department to go after your political opponents? Go ahead. Send the FBI to raid the Republican nominee's home? No problem. It was just all gas, no brakes on it. And look, poor Joe. You can't include, I realize it's the Democrat Party, and so they have to pick at the scabs of racism. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be a party if they couldn't get people worked up about race. But you can't ask Joe to make speeches about buses full of black kids because he's going to say something like this.
I remember pulling into the parking lot, and I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. They never turned right to go to Claymont High School. I wondered why. Asked my mom, why? So in Delaware, they're not allowed to go to school, in public school, with white kids, honey.
Obviously, it's yet another made-up story. That conversation never happened. Joe Biden can't remember how to pronounce a sentence. I'm reasonably sure he doesn't remember a conversation he had with his mother in the 4th grade about being, the saintly guy who wants the black kids to go to school with the white kids. But all that aside, that person pretended to be president for 4 years. But let's not take all of the blame off of Joe Biden's shoulders and hand it out to the communists who surrounded him, because there is something that's undeniably true about Joe Biden. He's a jerk. And I say it in this way, he's well known. I now, because of this job, I have sources all over Capitol Hill, Senate offices and House offices and all kinds of people. It's one of those things, it's well known. Joe Biden has always been a jerk to everybody. He's a jerk to his staff. He's a jerk to the media. He's just a nasty human being. There's decades old video, which we've played for you 1,000 times before, of Joe Biden talking down to people, being a jerk to people. The media had to present him as this kindly, saintly old man because they were trying to do a yin and yang thing with Trump. Look how mean Trump is. Look at this. Isn't it time for somebody nice? But Joe Biden is a jerk and always has been. And he took the communist speechwriters of his and he married the communist speechwriters and their evil with his natural tendencies towards being a jerk. And what he did was something I have never seen in the entire history of America's presidency. I've never seen it before. I've never, ever seen a president this comfortable talking down to huge portions of the population.
It's never been this divided. Granted, it's roughly 30%, but it's a 30% that has no heart.
I understand if you're young, it's not insulting you, just you haven't experienced everything older folks have, that you may not realize how stunning that is. I'm 43 years old. No Democrat, no Republican president in my 43 years on this planet has ever said anything like that. It's just something, it was always understood you don't do as president. Even if they say it privately, and of course they did. Democrats go privately and they dog cuss Republicans, and Republicans privately, they'll dog cuss Democrats. An American president, no matter the party, does not ever look at a huge portion of the country and talk down to them and act like they're worthless. That has never happened in my 43 years. And I've talked to so many older folks, my parents included, and they echoed that. They said, well, Jesse, we're in our 70. I've never seen it in my entire life. We've had good presidents, bad presidents. That doesn't happen. But that's a huge portion of why we are divided, why the lines are where they are. And it wasn't just that he would give speeches talking about half the country as if they're worthless, they're stupid. What did he say during the campaign? The only garbage I see are his supporters. Talking about Trump supporters. The garbage I see, called us garbage. It wasn't just that. Joe Biden, emboldened by the communists around him, did something else I've never seen, and I've looked. I don't think this has ever happened in the history of America's presidency. Remember how he used to threaten us all the time?
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin. And your refusal has cost all of us. And by the way, if they want to think to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle.
That line is a line I've heard Democrats use a lot. You want to take on the government, you better get some nukes. That's what Eric Swalwell said. Joe Biden used that last line repeatedly. Just let's again, because this is about where we are. Why are we where we are? The American president, it was a talking point he would use repeatedly and thought it was okay to tell the American people, if they step out of line, he'll send fighter jets after us? That's what he's saying. Watch yourself. I'll send some F-15s after you. That is such an insane departure from where this country's ever been. And now here we are. You got AOC the other day out there, large speech, calling Trump a rapist.
Donald Trump is a criminal. He was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud, found liable for sexual abuse. And if he wants to find the rapists and criminals in this country, he should look in the mirror.
We're not going to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I know that's heavy. And I know that's what we all want. It's what I want. We have to defeat these people. I'm not saying we're done. I'm not saying that. But there's not going to be any coming together with this vein of communism. There's just not. They have to be defeated. And look, don't dismiss AOC. We have a large percentage of people out there supporting her. Democrats supporting her potentially running for the United States presidency. We have members of the American media. They're already getting practically giddy at the thought of what she might do when she controls the Justice Department.
It's Donald Trump. Well, what happens the next 4 years from now when a Democrat is in office? What happens when President Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez decides to use these same powers that the president has now expanded by simply just pretending not to pay attention to the rulings of the court?
It is true that when standards are eroded, they tend to seldom come back and be reinstated.
They love it. And look, I did see this. I wanted to bring this up. Far be it from me to defend the man, but Hakeem Jeffries is the top Democrat in the House of Representatives. He's the minority leader, as you know. And Washington Free Beacon has a story out there about confidence in him eroding, that he can't control things. Well, I'm here to tell you, again, hate to defend him, but what's happening right now cannot be controlled. This evil, demonic strain of communism that now runs the Democrat Party, it cannot be controlled. We better win, because can't lose to these people. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.